Hello, hello. I believe we are live. We are checking on the webinar system that has a little bit of delay, so we'll find out. But glad that everyone can be here. Looks like we have, and I'm clicking. Yeah, there we are. Look at that. We are live. We are going. Hello.
Thanks for having me here, Keith. I'm pumped, man.
Definitely. I just heard myself coming through the feedback, so I needed to turn that off. Brent, thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be super fun.
Yeah, man, totally. I'm pumped.
Yeah. For people who don't know, Brent is the founder of UGurus, and he's been helping marketing agencies of all types, really work on building their lead generation funnels, becoming better agencies. You and I worked together many years ago. Probably some of the most valuable advice I've ever gotten for my agency back in the day. And I'm really hopeful and glad that you'll be able to share some of that with everyone here today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think you'll be proud to know, I think some of the stuff you built for UGurus, our company, is still alive and well and running. And that membership portal is still pumping, man. People are watching, hundreds of people a day are going in there and watching our courses on the stuff that you guys built for us. So, thanks again for all that good stuff.
Yeah, well, it's great. I'm glad to have you here. So I guess I will let you take it away. And just a real quick how this is going to work. So Brent's going to give his presentation, talk about some awesome things, drop those knowledge bombs. Afterwards, we're going to have some Q&A. If you have any questions, please put them into the chat just as Brent is talking, and we'll pick those up after that's over. And then we'll answer as many questions as we can. And we're going to try to keep it to an hour. All right. Awesome. Thanks very much. Cool.
Yeah. So Keith, thank you so much. Really awesome to hang out with you all today. I'm curious if you want to let me know in chat, just so that I know we're all hearing each other and all that good stuff. If you just want to let me know a little bit about your agency, like what's your, what discipline are you focused on? Are you a web agency, a branding agency? Are you doing lead generation or Facebook ads or social? Just let us know kind of what kind of agency you have. And maybe where you're based. That'll tell me that we're all hearing and seeing each other good. With these kind of webinars, it's always a lot more fun when we get to engage back and forth, where I get to do a little bit of teaching. You get to ask me some questions, and it feels a little bit more like a conversation, not just a dude talking into a tin can. So let me know in chat kind of what kind of agency you're currently focused on, and we'll have some fun today. So my presentation is how to own your market, how to quickly scale in a niche. So if you're like many of the other agency owners around the world, likely you're depending a lot on referrals and word of mouth marketing. This is kind of the default for most service businesses. And one of the reasons is because you go and do good work. You serve your clients, you get them results, and they tell other people about it. And most of the time, you're head down doing the work, and you don't have a whole lot of time to come up and actually do marketing for your own business. So you grow very organically. And this works amazing until it doesn't. It's kind of what we call hope marketing, where we wait by the phone and we hope that we'll get that next referral. And one of the challenges of referrals and word of mouth is just how absolutely unpredictable they are, how it's really difficult to repeat success, and it's how it's really challenging for you to have any control over the kinds of leads that you get, the quantity of leads that you get, the amount of leads that you get, all that kind of stuff. It becomes very, very difficult for you to really grow and scale a business based on referrals and word of mouth. If you think about it like this, referrals and word of mouth, if you're sitting on a stool, right, and you have one leg on that stool, I think we can all admit that that would not be a very stable stool, right? Would kind of be wobbling around. Yes, you can sit on a one-legged stool, but it might not be the most comfortable and relaxing thing for you to do. And so what we want to do for every agency that we work with is really create a three-legged stool, one that has marketing engines coming in from referrals and word of mouth, yes, because you're doing great work, but also having a couple of other opportunities, like whether you're doing a content marketing engine, whether you're doing paid ads, whether you're doing some kind of authority content, whether you're doing partnerships, having something in place for your business so that you can get more leads consistently. Great to hear from Able, SEO and paid ads for lead generation. So you guys are out there doing this stuff for your clients, And trust me, if you're anything like our clients, sometimes we have a hard time doing this for ourselves. David says, mostly doing e-commerce and SaaS niche. Hey man, congratulations on working on the e-commerce niche right now. A lot of business going that direction right now. So hopefully you're feeling some of that positivity. So we're going to be talking today about owning your market, how to quickly scale in a niche for your business so you can get more leads and clients. Keith introduced me, and a little bit more about me. My name is Brent Weaver. I'm the founder of UGurus. We are a business school for digital agencies. We work with digital agency owners that are struggling to attract and win high-value, high-paying clients. That's basically what we've spent pretty much the last decade focused on. Before running UGurus, I had an agency called Hot Press Web, ran that for 13 years, had a team of over 14 people, had over 300 clients under active management. A lot of the things that I used to grow and scale my business, we've implemented into our trainings. But since then, we've literally helped thousands of agency owners attract more leads, win more deals, and delight their clients. And our big vision here at UGurus is to help 10,000 agencies achieve freedom in business and life. And we look at that as you being able to double the income that you get from your business, double the amount of time off that you have from your business every year, and ultimately double the impact that you make on your clients and the businesses and organizations that you serve. So if you're interested in that, if you want more freedom, if you want more time, want more income, you want more impact, better results for your clients, then you're in the right place right now. Now, there are a lot of challenges within growing an agency. Congratulations. You guys are doing the world a favor by all the work that you're doing, by helping them with e-commerce sites, helping with SEO, helping with lead gen. I'm curious, what's the hardest part for you about growing and scaling your agency? I know there's a lot of challenges, but what's been the most difficult thing for you? If you look back over the last couple of months or couple of years, just let me know in chat, what's been the hardest thing for you about growing and scaling your digital agency? And in a minute, while you guys are typing that up, because I know there's probably going to be a little bit of a delay on answers, when we start thinking about this in a minute, I'm going to show you our system, kind of how we think of every agency, the 3 core systems that every agency has. And we're going to be talking about one of those specific systems today. But it's always interesting to get an idea of where people are at in their business right now, what's kind of the main thing that they're having a hard time with. And David says, getting consistent qualified leads. Obviously today, this session, as advertised, is about generating leads. So chances are you might have some struggles around lead generation. And if so, you're in the right place. One of the things that a lot of agency owners struggle with is kind of this feast and famine cycle of getting clients, having too much work, then not having enough work, then having too much work, then not having enough work. And one of the reasons that happens, if you just think about it, because you're head down working with clients, you might not be out there marketing your business. You might not be out there trying to sell the next project because you're busy serving the current clients you have. And so what happens is you get this ebb and flow, right? Where you get a lot of work and then you're so busy that you don't have time to line up for that next project. So then when your projects are done, you look up and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have clients. I got to go ahead and figure out where to market. And one of the biggest challenges that agency owners have is that their strategy changes and evolves. Like one day you're thinking that you're going to blog on your website. The next day you're thinking, oh, I need to do Facebook. The next day you're thinking, oh, I got to do ads, right? And you're changing the tactics day to day versus having 1 or 2 proven marketing engines besides referral and word of mouth. And one of the reasons we say a proven marketing engine means this. What we want you to do is we want you to be able to invest a predictable amount of money or time into your marketing activities and get a predictable result. It's that simple. You shouldn't actually have to think much about how you get clients. Like one of the ways that we get clients is by running webinars and doing paid ads. Every week I run a webinar and we run traffic to that webinar through advertisements and we get a predictable amount of leads and clients every single week. Abel says the most difficult thing for me is probably managing clients and then selling at the same time. So exactly, right? That hamster wheel, as you said in chat, right? This is something that a lot of agencies experience. And here's the good part. You're not alone, right? It might feel challenging and painful and frustrating, but the good news is you're not alone, and there are proven systems and methodologies for how to think about this in your business. We've developed something called the agency freedom model, and we're going to be talking about elements of this today. But when you think about your business and your ability to grow past a plateau, one of the things that you're going to need to figure out is how to work on every one of these components at different times in your business. So for instance, if you're not able to hit the revenue goals that you want because you're not able to attract enough leads, well, then you can't do a whole lot of work on your sales processes, because if you get 1 or 2 leads a month, you probably are going to have to close close to 100% of that business. You might not be able to turn projects away. You might not be able to work with people that you know are your ideal clients, and you might not be able to charge enough money. And if you're not getting ideal clients, it's going to be hard to delight your clients. It's going to be hard to really be excited about that work. And I lived this, where we were getting so few leads. We had to chase 100% of everything that came through the door, where one day we were charging $20,000 for the websites we were building. And eventually over time, we had to chase everything. And at one point, I felt like I was pursuing clients for, $1,000, $1,500 for a website project. And I was struggling to win the deals, but I had to go after that business because otherwise we'd go out of business. What I realized eventually was, if we worked on just building a lead attraction system where we got a ton of people interested in our business, we get to be a lot more choosy and selective about the types of clients we went after. And so we were able to win better deals. We got paid more money, we got better clients, and because we got paid more and got better clients, we were ultimately able to delight our clients much more effectively. So this is our system. Now look, today I'm going to be focused on this component really of how to funnel leads into your business. How do we build a strategy for owning a market? How do we build a strategy for attracting the right people to our business? John says, changing tactics midstream has been the hardest part for us, right? So dude, today we're going to talk about how to get clear on that strategy. I'm going to be walking you through a 5A framework on how to do this for your business. So we're going to be running through 5 A's today to really get clear about how to funnel leads into your business. And we're going to make this as simple as absolutely possible. So one of the big problems, I've mentioned a couple of problems today. You guys have mentioned some problems today, but one of the big problems that we see people on, and I talked about this a little bit, is surviving on referrals. It's one thing to get referrals and to be excited about referrals and to love referrals. Like, I love referrals. When somebody refers me, when I get that mutual intro to somebody else, like, it's amazing, right? It's absolutely fantastic. And we love referrals, right? But it's not a strategy, right? It's literally the lack of strategy, right? When I talk to agencies, they're like, oh, we pride ourselves. We get all of our business through referrals and word of mouth, right? All that means to me is I don't do anything to market my business. And at any moment, I could lose all of my, future clients if people stop referring me. And I've watched 7-figure and even 8-figure agencies go out of business like that because they were purely referral and word of mouth. They had no market authority, no marketing engines. And one day a top salesperson left. One day their clients all of a sudden just stopped talking about them. Who knows? But it happened, and it caused all sorts of problems, right? The other thing is no market authority. When people come in and they aren't looking at you as the authority, when they're not looking at you as the expert, guess what? You can't charge as much, and your clients don't trust you. They don't trust your expertise. They view you as a vendor, right? And that's a problem. That's a problem. So if you're an agency owner right now and you're surviving on referrals and word of mouth, and nobody in your market knows you, they don't view you as the expert, that creates all sorts of downward pressure on your ability to charge what you're worth and also to win those deals. And most people that I talk to are working way too hard when it comes to marketing their business. Look, I run a 7-figure consulting business, and I spend about 1 to 2 hours a week on marketing my business. I literally show up for a webinar, do my song and dance, and then I get leads and clients, right? Because I have a proven marketing engine. I have about 3 marketing engines. 2 of the 3 I don't actually run at all. I've got another team member that is a marketing manager. She's a part-time person, and she runs that marketing engine for us. And I spend 2 hours a week running my marketing engines, and that creates enough clients for my business to run a 7-figure business. So if you're spending more than an hour or 2 on marketing a week and you're struggling to break 6 figures or 7 figures, you're probably doing some things out of whack. Your strategy isn't focused, and that's a problem, right? We're going to help you guys fix some of that today. One of the big things that we want to avoid is costly downsizing. So when you think about this, when your client acquisition is feast and famine, well, when I was running my agency, what would happen is all of a sudden we wouldn't have the next client, and I had all this payroll, and all of a sudden I have to make a hard decision. do we let these people go, or do I, pull out a loan or give my business a loan or whatever? And ultimately, if you don't have this marketing engine thing figured out, it could lead to you having to let people go. And that totally stinks. And we want to help you guys avoid that. Ultimately, what we want to do is help you guys grow your business and not have to downsize. So the opportunity is this, right? We can create a full prospect pipeline for your agency. And that means that you don't just have a client for right now, but you actually have leads and clients going out in the future, and you have some marketing assets like having an email list, having a pixel list, having lots of SEO ranking, lots of people pointing to you as the authority in your market to create that full prospect pipeline. So it is a flood, not a trickle. We also want to start signing raving fans. If you guys have never signed a raving fan, like there's a referrals, I love referrals, right? Whoever referred them, they're vouching for you as being an awesome person, and sales is a lot easier. Totally different when somebody calls you up and says, hey, Abel, hey, John, I've been following you for 5 years. I've been thinking about working with you for 5 years. I've listened to all your podcasts. I've read all of your articles. I've seen you speak a dozen times. I am ready to go. Like, signing that person as a client is a lot of fun, right? Signing raving fans are even better than signing referrals. They're like the easiest sales that you will ever make in your life. And that's what we want you to do. We want you to go beyond just having market authority. We want you to start creating raving fans in the market that you're working on. And also, we want to help you work on more fun problems. A lot of people think of niching. They think of like that you're going to become this like burger chef where just every day is flipping the same burgers because gosh, if I built another dentist website or if I built another lawyer website, I'd go insane. And the reality is this: once you start to do some things in your business that are repetitive, you can start to delegate them. You can build systems, processes, and get them off your plate. And then you as owner gets to go work on some more fun and interesting problems, which creates the ultimate goal, which is scalable momentum. Scalable momentum, meaning that your business is growing. Every month, you're feeling like you're creating more opportunity. You're able to generate more income. You're able to get more of your time back. You're creating systems and processes. You've got people in your business that are helping you to market, people that are helping you to sell, people that are helping you to deliver, people that are doing your bookkeeping or invoicing. I mean, seriously, like raise of virtual hands through chat. Is anybody in this room, is your superpower doing your bookkeeping? Like, is anybody here's superpower sending invoices? Like, were you put on this earth to send invoices? Like, no. But every agency owner I work with, one of the first things that we get off their plate is sending invoices, right? For some reason, agency owners like feel so much ownership or like control around sending invoices, right? And I think we can all agree here that nobody on today's webinar should be sending their own invoices. And that's what scalable momentum is all about: moving you away from those low value things that aren't super exciting, that don't wake you up in the morning, and also that you could probably start to avoid doing, right? If you're not sending out your invoices because you hate doing them, well, then guess what? You're not making money. So let's put those on other people's plates because you can create those business systems and create scalable momentum. But the reality is, if you don't have leads coming in, you're not signing clients, you're not making money, and delegating stuff is really hard to do when you're not making any money. So let's fix that problem today. I'm curious. I'm about to show you guys 5 keys for implementing this into your business, right? We're going to walk through the 5 A's to owning your market right now, right? So I'm curious, why would owning a niche help your agency? And when I say owning a niche, I mean a couple of different things. One of the things that I mean is that you step into your market, right? Some people I feel like are tourists when it comes to a niche or a market, right? Like maybe you have a client that does restaurant stuff. Maybe you've got a client that's a lawyer. Maybe you've got a client that it's an e-commerce business, right? And you have some business from those niches, but you don't really own it, right? Nobody in that market knows of you as like the restaurant expert, right? Nobody knows you as the expert on doubling conversion rates for Shopify stores. And that's what it means to really own a market, to really understand the results that you provide for your clients, and to really like grab that and just, you're about that, right? You've got blog posts about that. You've got partners that are referring you because of that. Like you own it, and therefore you get results. So if you owned an agency, or if you owned a niche, if you really stepped into that niche and became the go-to authority in that niche, how would that help your business? How would that help your business? Find that chat, as I mentioned earlier, and let us know how this would help your business. I mean, some of the common things that I hear from people, they're like, well, gosh, I'd be the go-to. People would actually call me instead of me having to call them. Like I wouldn't have to cold call anymore. Other things that I've heard from our clients is, well, gosh, I'd be able to actually make the money that I want in my business. I wouldn't be so beholden to referrals and word of mouth, right? And these are all really awesome benefits to owning a niche in your business. And the other thing is it makes things a lot easier. Instead of you having to constantly reinvent the wheel, you're able to create some systems, some processes into your business. And ultimately, that's where scale comes from, right? Scale comes from repetition. Scale comes from repetition. And when you own your niche, you're able to create that repetition for you in your business. So I'll keep a lookout on chat for any additional answers that are coming in on this question of why would owning a niche help your agency? While you guys are working on that, we're going to dive into 5 keys to owning your market. And as I mentioned before, we're going to walk through 5 A's. So there's going to be 5 A words, the good kind of A words, 5 A words that we're going to walk you guys through to owning your market. And this is stuff that I've been able to pull out of the last 20 years of my work in the agency space, what I've seen works, what I've seen hasn't worked, and how do we build this into a system? So instead of being all over the place when it comes to marketing, you guys are laser focused. You know exactly what you're doing to market your business. And it's like a flywheel. Like every week you're coming in, you're giving it a push for an hour. And every week that momentum is building on the next week. So let's jump in and do 5 keys to owning your market. This is a great time to pull out that paper and pen and make sure that you're taking some notes on today's session. All right. Number one, find your high value audience that is easy to reach. Okay. This is super important, right? When we think about a couple of keywords here. So the A word here is audience. We always start with our audience, right? Who is our client? Who is the person that we are going to work with? It is a lot easier to figure out where we can find clients when we are first clear on the who. You'll notice my image here is a fish jumping out of water, right? So when I was younger, I went and my uncle gave me a fishing pole, and I went down to my neighborhood pond and I went fishing, right? And I fished. I sat there for hours, right? 2 or 3 hours, right? And I remember it like it was yesterday. And I pulled up this fish. I was all excited. I felt a little tug on my fishing pole, and it was this little tiny, I don't know, minnow looking thing, right? It was like 3 inches long. So 3 hours. And I get this 3-inch long fish, right? Not super exciting. But at that point in time, I thought to myself, like, this is what fishing is. It's super boring and the results kind of stink. And so I just dropped fishing for, I just never wanted to go fishing again. Was not super happy with my uncle for taking me. I just wasn't super into this idea of going and sitting someplace for 3 hours and catching this like 3-inch long fish, right? So a few years later, it was on a family reunion, and we're up in the mountains in Colorado. We went to this lake, and this lake was this beautiful, pristine mountain lake. And I went out there, and we actually had to pay a little bit of an entry fee to this lake, because this lake was a fishing pond, but it was a stocked mountain pond, meaning that it was somebody's job, like a team's job of people, to stock this pond with a ton of fish so that people could go there and they could catch fish and catch their dinner or whatever. So we go to this pond, cast my pole or whatever, cast my line into the water, and it wasn't but 7 minutes, and all of a sudden I pull up this 18-inch, mountain bass, this big old fish. I'm sitting there like, wow, this is crazy, right? And that's a big difference, right? The pond you fish in, right? The pond you fish in makes the world of difference. If you're like most agency owners, you're probably fishing at some local neighborhood pond, the pond that just happened to be the closest place to where you were when you started your business. And the odds are probably stacked against you. When I first started running my agencies, I thought one of the best ideas I ever had was going down to the small business development center and teaching people about how to launch a website. And they said, oh yeah, we've got all these people that are starting a brand new business and they need websites. So we'd love for you to teach a class on how to set up a website. So I literally was going to this local pond, and I was in a room full of people that were just starting their business. Not one of them had any money whatsoever. No customers, no revenue. There was lots of them, but there were the tiny little fish, right? They were the tiny little fish. Nobody had money to spend on a website. Best case scenario, they had $500. So there I was fishing at my local pond, catching the 3-inch minnow. So how do you find the big fish? Well, here's the reality. 80% of businesses that don't have employees, and there's a lot of them, right? This graph shows there's 23 to about 28 million businesses in the United States. 23 million of those businesses, okay? 23 million of those businesses right up here, right? There are businesses that 80% of them are making less than 50K a year. Less than 50K a year. That's like, there's millions and millions of businesses, lots of noise in the marketplace, and these businesses are making 50K or less a year. Can they buy, $3,000 a month marketing retainers? Can they do, $5K a month SEO retainers? Absolutely not. Now, if we think about businesses that have employees, we just look at that one differentiation, that one demographic characteristic. Businesses without employees, businesses with employees. Businesses in the United States with employees, on average, are making annual revenues of $3.6 million. So if we seriously just look at this and say, which market should we go after? Should we go after businesses just starting up with no employees, or should we go after businesses that are established with employees? Guess what? The odds are stacked in your favor. And why do we think about this? Why do we think about revenue? Why is revenue an important demographic characteristic? Well, there's something called the 7% rule. The SBA says that businesses, on average, rule of thumb, spend 7% of their annual revenue on marketing and advertising. That means if you're doing SEO, if you're doing pay-per-click, if you're doing social media, if you're doing content, you fall in this 7% of their revenue on marketing and advertising, right? So this is really important when you're going out there, when you're qualifying, when you're thinking about conferences to go to, when you're thinking about how to invest your marketing energy. Where do we want to be investing that energy? Do we want to be investing that energy in ponds that have businesses that are just getting started, that are solopreneurs, that are the work from home consultant, that are the freelance designer, the solo psychologist or chiropractor or whatever? Or do we want to go after businesses that have, 5 or more employees or whatever, right? Guess what? The annual budget for a company that's doing $50K a year is $3,500. That's all of their website, their ads, their business cards, all of that. They got $3,500. Business that has $3.6 million in annual revenue has over $250,000 to spend on marketing and advertising. When I realized this, it was like this huge aha. I was catching all these leads. They couldn't spend money, right? I was going to them and trying to sell a $10,000 website, and they were laughing me out of the room. Not because they were jerks, not because they didn't like me, but because they just seriously didn't have that. That was 3 years of their marketing advertising budget that I was asking for them for one website. Started going to businesses that were more established. And all of a sudden, I'm talking to these businesses that are doing $5, $10 million a year in revenue. And I'm proposing to them websites that cost $25,000, $50,000. And they're like, oh, this is a deal. This is a steal. Like every other company we're talking to is charging twice as much as you. Sales was easier. And we got more revenue. And we got to do cooler things. And we got to get them bigger results. So when you go and you choose your audience, when you choose your pond to fish from, these are 5 things that are super important, right? Demographics, just that single idea of going after businesses that have revenue, right? One of the first questions I started asking clients, new leads that came in, about how much revenue are you doing per year? And some people kind of got a little friction around this question. They thought like I was asking their underwear color. But then I'd say, hey, look, are you doing like about 100K? Are you doing $1 million a year? Are you guys doing 10 million a year? Are you guys doing $1 billion? And one of the reasons that I asked this question is just to know, hey, are we even in the same ballpark as one another? Are we even in the same ballpark, right? Other ways to think about our market is industry, geography. I ask people, I say, well, where, what's the geography that you operate in? And they say, oh, we work with anybody from any place. I'm like, okay, cool. So you're marketing your business in Nairobi. And they're like, whoa, hold on. Actually, most of our clients are in the Chicago area. It's like, okay, cool, right? So we're looking for businesses doing $1 million a year. They're in the Chicago area that are software as a service companies. Great. Now we have a super clear idea of who our audience is. And that's the first thing to owning a market, is knowing who you're going after. So whether it's industry, geography, job function, demographic, psychographic, these are important things that you need to define for your business in terms of your marketing strategy. There's a lot of underserved and profitable niches out here. This is just some of the A's. When I was, I have this other house that we had, one of the first houses that I ever bought was this 100-year-old house. And it has a ton of old asbestos piping in it. And we had to get the heater replaced. And I had to find a company to come in and remove all the old asbestos piping. I did a Google search and I found a company that was advertising on Google. And I got that quote from them, and it cost $5,000 to remove this asbestos. So some digital agency out there is helping asbestos removal companies to create funnels through Google ads and landing pages and call center work, right? Some agency got paid probably in the 5 figures to build that funnel. Now, is asbestos removal company, is that a super sexy niche? No, but every major city in the United States has probably dozens of asbestos removal companies that could become your market. What if you owned that market? What if you became the #1 company that was a 7-figure agency, and all your focus was you became the known company that had proven methodologies and frameworks to get asbestos removal companies massive amounts of customers? Right? That's a 7-figure agency right there. So what is that underserved and profitable niche that's literally sitting right underneath you that maybe you're avoiding because it doesn't sound exciting, but there's lots of money, there's lots of opportunity there. Find that underserved and profitable niche. Think about things around money. Does the niche have money? Do they make money? Do they spend money? Think about your interest. Are you interested in it? You don't have to have a passion about it, but are you at least interested? You can develop passion later. And finally, the third most important thing, results. Can you get the niche results? Can you get them what they're actually looking for? If they have money, if you have an interest and you can get them results, that can be a fantastic niche for you to focus on in your agency. One of my clients, Gretchen and Trina, these are some of my favorite clients, been working together for years, and they were going after the health and wellness niche. And their ideal customer was health and wellness coaches. What happened was they attracted a lot of solopreneurs. Health and wellness coaches. And we're working with them. They're building up lists. We're doing marketing activities. They're attracting clients, but nobody has budgets. And I kept looking at it going, health and wellness coaches. Why do these people don't have budgets, right? And had a big aha. Because we're going after the broad niche. We changed their wording ever so slightly. Health and wellness influencers. From coaches to influencers. All of a sudden, they start attracting the top echelon of people in their market. And guess what? These people start to have budgets. They start to have, much bigger money to spend. Instead of a couple $1,000s, this client, they landed their initial project with $60,000. This client has become a $50,000 a year client for the last 3 years, doing about $50,000 a year with their agency. That's the power in understanding the who. Who is your market? Who is your ideal prospect? And then that creates kind of the opportunity for the next step to figure out where do these people hang out. All right. So real quick, let's kind of recap here. Number 1, find your high value audience that's easy to reach. Speaking of easy to reach, your audience needs to self-identify with how you think of them. All right. That's a key point. Do they actually call themselves what you're thinking about them? Right. And once you've done that, the second thing you need to do is build awareness with existing market infrastructure. Okay. So we don't want to create our own market infrastructure, right? This would be like if the Beatles, when they first started playing, right, they didn't create their own bar to play music. They went and they gigged all over Manchester and Liverpool. They didn't go and create their own venue. They went to where the people already were and they just played their music. So don't go create your own bar. Don't be like trying to create, your blog on your website or whatever. Don't create your own channel. Go out there and find the people that have already created the channels, the blogs, the stages, the podcasts, and leverage existing market infrastructure. Leverage their 5 years, their 10 years, their 20 years of building up an audience of your ideal prospect. And then you get to go in and play the rad show, right? And gig like crazy. That's what the Beatles did. They gigged for a couple of years all over the UK, and then guess what? They came to the United States. They had a really refined message, and they blew up. They were a quote unquote overnight success after thousands of shows. Sometimes they play 3, 4, 5 shows in a single night. That's what it means to gig in your market. So once you know who your target market is, go find your venues and start gigging. And this is one of the fastest ways for you to build a list and build consistent leads coming into your business. I'm a big fan of one-to-many channels. What does that mean? That means places where you're able to speak have one message, like today, and I'm speaking, I'm talking into this microphone here, and this is going out to many, many agency owners live on our session today, and also a replay of this. And Keith's out there working his butt off to grow the audience of his his market, and I get a benefit from that, right? I get to do one thing, and I get to put my message out there to a lot of people. So that's what you want to look at. Don't look at the one-to-one channels. I hate outbound. I hate cold calling, all that kind of stuff. I find platforms, blogs, stages, podcasts, webinars, etc., where I can give my free content and I can get people interested in my message. The next thing is partnerships. Other businesses that have your ideal customer as their customer. Find them, connect with them, find ways to send business to one another. Partnerships can be an amazing one-to-many channel. When we were in the restaurant space, one of the types of businesses I found was liquor reps. Every liquor rep has about 60 accounts. So they're in there selling their liquor to 60 restaurants. That's a successful liquor rep that's making about 6 figures a year. So every liquor rep I met, I now had access to 60 restaurants. I paid the liquor rep $100 for every meeting they set me up with, not client, meeting. And that's how we got clients in the restaurant space. We partnered with liquor reps, and that was a partnership because they had the same client. There was other companies like OpenTable that sold software to my clients. We had companies like Cisco Foods where they sold food to our clients. We found people that already had our client as their clients. We built relationships with those people and got tons of leads. Then finally, paid ads. Every business, if you want to really scale and see what the ceiling's like in your market, paid ads are where you get to trade your time for money. You put dollars in the meter and they put your message out there to thousands of people. Every week, our ads are seen by over 100,000 people. I cannot do that. Only Facebook has that infrastructure. I pay them money and they put my message out there to tons of people. Great one-to-many channels out there. Here's an example of one of my clients. They are a digital agency focused on the IT professional market. He writes an article a week for about a half dozen publishers. Smarter MSP is one of the publishers he writes for. He writes these articles. At the very end of the article, it says, hey, if you want to book a strategy session with me, click the link, gets traffic back to his website, gets leads, gets clients from that. Another one of my clients does presentations, stages. He does 2 stages a month, meaning that literally he does 2 talks a month, workshops, webinars, or actual, in-person keynotes. Now, right now he's doing all webinars, but he does 2 of these a month, and it gets him all the leads that he needs for his business. He spends 1 hour a week emailing his associations, potential stages in the market. 1 hour a week, and that helps him to book his stages. At any given time, he's booked 6 to 8 months out. That means every month he already knows where he's going to give his 2 talks for the next 6 months. So he's spending an hour a week on his marketing. Every month he does a couple of these talks, and he gets dozens and dozens of leads for his business every single month. He doesn't have to go out there and blog. He doesn't need to go out there and do paid ads. He doesn't need to go out there and podcast. He knows what his marketing engine is super clear about it. My company, we do a lot of our energy on Facebook. In the last couple of years, we've spent over $700,000. When I took the screenshot, it was a few months ago. We spent over $700,000 on ads. Here's what I want you guys to notice from this image. We've reached over 5 million people with our messages about how to grow your digital agency. That is crazy talk. I can't even fathom over 5 million people. Yeah, $700,000 is a lot of money, but guess what? We do over $1 million in revenue every single year. So $600,000 a year on ads over the last 5 years isn't actually that crazy when you think about we're able to create over $1 million a year in business for our company. My client, Nate, got published over 17 times. He's had 7 strategy calls in a single week. This stuff really works. This is what it's all about, creating a predictable marketing system for yourself. He doesn't do this by blogging on his website. He does this by going out to existing awareness channels, existing blogs, existing stages, existing podcasts, existing partnerships. He leverages their infrastructure, and within 3 months, he was able to start signing clients consistently within his market as the go-to professional, because within 3 months, other people endorsed him, other people shared his content, and he got those consistent leads. So the second thing is build that awareness. That's that number 2A. First A was audience. Second A was awareness, right? We want to do that with existing market infrastructure. Number 3, once we're doing that, once we're out there in front of our audience, we want to attract our ideal clients by speaking their language. We don't want to talk about stuff they don't care about. I'd go out there to clients in our local market, and I'd talk about content management systems. I'd talk about responsive web design. I'd talk about how there were some new cool things coming out with jQuery. Guess what? Restaurant owners, small businesses, lawyers, they don't give a bleep about responsive web design or jQuery or CMSs or whatever, right? What they care about is getting more leads, getting more clients, getting home to their family by 5 o'clock. So I stopped talking about stuff that I care about. I started talking about stuff that they care about. And guess what? I didn't have to shout as much anymore. I got to just whisper the right things in the right places, right? Like if I go to my 5-year-old and I whisper to him, I'm like, hey man, do you want a new Lego set? His eyes light up and he gets super big-eyed and he gets really excited, right? Whereas if I say, hey dude, do you want to go to Target? He's like, I don't want to go to Target. Target sucks, right? Like I don't want to go run errands, but if I say Lego set, boom, his eyes light up, right? So what's the Lego set for your client? What's the words? What are the things that are going to make their eyes light up to where they can't help themselves, but go tell everybody around them, right? Dave McClure from 500 Startups says, customers don't care about your solution. They care about their problems. One of the things that we do for our clients is we have them write a day in the life of their client, right? They write a diary entry for what their clients are interested in. They say, dear diary, you wouldn't believe that I had, right? And they write out their client's day. This is so powerful because if you understand what your client is experiencing, all of a sudden your marketing gets way cooler. When you can go stand up in front of a group of people and say, hey, I get you. I know what you're experiencing. I know what's going on in your life. Connection, right? And when we have our audience, when we know our awareness channels, and when we're talking about stuff they care about, we start attracting attention. And it's way easier. Now, one thing I do with our clients is I have them do what I call the authority content grid. I say, look, let's identify the top 3 problems that your clients care about. Let's take the top 3 services that you offer, and let's make these little content babies where we have problem 1 and service 1, and we bring those together and we talk about them. So let me give you an example. Let's say your clients care most about generating leads, and you care most about selling web design or selling, digital marketing or whatever, right? So lead gen and websites. All right, here's a piece of content. 5 ways you can leverage your website to generate more leads for your law practice, right? Now we're creating something that's relevant for me and it's relevant for my client. So what we do is we take our content grid, these 9 boxes becomes the platform for which you talk about every week, every podcast, every piece of content that you create has to be a lens from these 9 boxes where you're always talking about the top 3 things your clients care most about, and you're always talking about your services. This becomes your content strategy, whether you're doing content, partnerships, paid ads, whatever. You got to create content. You got to create material that you can put out there in the market, right? So one of the things we do is once we have those content topics, we create some really juicy content. We create awesome hooks, awesome builds, and awesome payoffs. Every piece of content has a hook, build, payoff. Whether it's a 3-sentence ad, whether it's a headline, whether it's a blog post, there's always 3 chunks. There's Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, as Stephen Pressfield says. Here's an example of one of my clients. Hook, Servon helped us double our property management business in 6 months. Build, we help property managers use Arthur Online to build great brands, websites, and digital marketing to grow their business with ease in the UK. Payoff, schedule now, generate more website leads, become a more profitable landlord. Is this targeted at me? Heck no. But if you're a company that does property management and you know Arthur Online, guess what? This is like singing sweet nothings in your ear, right? So this is a hook, build, payoff. If your website, if I go to it, I cannot clearly see the hook, build, payoff above the fold, you're failing. You're not connecting with your audience. You're not grabbing their attention. You're not telling them what kind of benefits that you can provide for them. So one of our guys, right, he takes this idea, he goes to his market, he's doing a webinar, right, has 7 audit bookings within 5 minutes of running his webinar to 100 people, right? That's what it means to whisper the right things in the right places to attract your ideal clients by speaking their language. That's number 3, attract. So we've got our audience, we've got our awareness channels, we've got our attract. Now what? Now it's time to crown yourself. Build your own authority. If you are waiting, John and Abel and the other people in this session today, if you are waiting for somebody to come in and put a crown on your head and say, you're an expert, you're the authority, you're going to be waiting a long time, right? Actually, I take that back. I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to crown you. You are an expert. You are an authority. People want to hear you. People want to hear about your content. It's time for you to get that crown and start building your own authority. Start telling people why they should listen to you. Why are you an expert, right? One of the things we do with our clients, we create their proof points. We run through their functional, their social, their economic, their credentials, their testimonials, their clients. And we do is we unpack this. So every time you go and write a blog post, every time you're in front of your audience, you can basically put things that make you awesome in front of them, right? These are some of the stuff that I have on my proof points list. Now, I don't go out there and brag about this all the time, but it's stuff I talk about, right? I mentioned to you guys earlier that we had over 300 clients that are active management. We worked with companies like Dish Network and Anheuser-Busch, spent over $500K on personal development. I've generated over $12 million in revenue in my various businesses, right? I've helped clients land over $10 million in additional projects for their businesses, right? These are proof points. These are ways for me to quickly, not brag, just establish authority. Check the box. I've been there. I've done that. This is not the first time I've sat in front of a group of people and talked about how to help them grow their businesses, right? This is what it means to build authority in your business. Now, I showed you guys just a couple of worksheets, okay? I showed you the proof points worksheet. I showed you the diary worksheet, the hook, build, payoff worksheet. I showed you the content grid, and you might have been trying to sketch that out or make some points about this stuff. If it would be useful for you, we compiled this into what I call the Own Your Market Field Guide. And if this would be helpful for you, if you're interested in this, we have the Own Your Market Field Guide. I've got a couple of other worksheets that are inside the Own Your Market Field Guide. It's a series of worksheets of tools that you can use in your business. Just shoot me an email, brent@ugurus.com. Just say, hey, I was on Key's webinar and I want that field guide. And I'll send you the email back and I'll include that field guide on there. Super easy. Some tools that you can print out, work on your business with some pen and paper, and make sure that you can actually implement this stuff, because that's where the magic's going to happen. It's not going to happen from hearing me talk about it. It's going to happen when you actually implement these methods in your business. So if you guys want that Own Your Market Field Guide, just drop me an email, brent@ugurus.com. Say I want the field guide, and we'll give you that to you guys absolutely no cost. So proof points, how do we use them, right? So we get our proof points. And here's an article I wrote called Never Say WordPress When Selling a Web Design Project. This article went super viral, #1 on Hacker News, and I've got 5 proof points in the first 2 paragraphs, right? Selling my web agency, over 950 bids, millions of dollars in sales, 20K projects, right? These are all ways of quickly establishing authority so somebody is hooked into reading what I'm talking about. If you go to our website, what you'll see is a page called Results, where there's literally dozens of videos and screenshots about the success that we've been able to get our clients. That is proof. We put that on our website strategically to build authority. We have endorsements from third parties like Entrepreneur Magazine, Boag World, Specky Boy, Design Moto, Clients from Hell, Hubstaff, AMI, right? We've got lots of people that have said, hey, UGurus is a good company. You should talk to them and work with them. This is what it means to establish yourself as an authority. Here's what this looks like on one of our clients' websites, right? Right there at the bottom, look at the bottom of that page. You see how he has as featured in advisor perspectives in wealthmanagement.com. Look, those things mean nothing to me. But if you're a financial advisor, you respect those publications, and he's partnered with them, and that creates authority for him in his market. He did not wait around for somebody to say, hey, Chris, you're an authority. He went to those magazines. He said, hey, I want to write for you. I want to blog for you. I want to do webinars with you. I want to do content with you. He crowned himself and got his butt to work, all right? So we want to build your own authority. That's that 4th A, right? Authority. So we got audience, we got awareness, we got attract, we got authority. And number 5, we want to acquire leads with an appointment funnel. You could go out there and blog to your heart's content. You could go out there and podcast to your heart's content. You could go out there and give great keynotes to your heart's content. If you don't have a system to move interest to leads and conversations, you're not going to get results. I have interviewed over 150 people on our podcast, and I swear it never fails. People come on, and when I ask them, how can people find out more about you? They literally freeze up, and they say, check out my website, right? That is not an appointment funnel. That is not an offer for value, right? So what you need to do is, in your business, create a system from awareness, from interest, into scheduled appointments. Agencies sell on scheduled calls in conversations. So your marketing needs to create conversations. If you're selling high ticket, you need to do that on a call. And so your whole marketing engine, all roads need to lead to a scheduled call. If your website does not have an active appointment funnel where you have people able to schedule calls with you through a specific call offer, then you're not doing it right. And you need to build that marketing engine. And then once you have that appointment funnel in place, you go out there and you build traffic, right? Whether that's content, whether it's partnerships or paid ads, everything goes back to your strategy call funnel. And that makes things insanely simple. You don't have 50 different opt-ins and different lead magnets and all this kind of stuff, right? So for one of our clients, this is what it looks like, right? MSP marketing to help you book more meetings with qualified prospects, strategy call, book a call, et cetera, right? So what happens to your week? What does that look like when you have a high-performing marketing engine? It looks like this. You literally come in Monday morning and you've got calls. Now, I've got a full-time salesperson, So we need a lot of appointments to feed the beast. But for most of our clients, 2, 3, 4 strategy calls in a single week is more than enough business. So we want to create a booked lead funnel for your business where you know your sales pipeline by looking at how many appointments you have with new prospects. So one of our clients, right, started the year off. Normally his least busy time ever, January 2nd, already has scheduled appointment, right? That's what it means to acquire leads with an appointment funnel. We want to create that bridge between you and your ideal prospects where they can hop on the bridge, zoom over to that scheduled conversation. So to recap, we're going to define our audience. We're going to find those awareness channels. We're going to talk about stuff our market cares about, which is going to attract them to us. We're going to crown ourselves and build ourselves as an authority. And finally, we're going to build a marketing engine appointment system so that we can acquire those leads into our business and we can have that booked calendar. Now, earlier today, I talked about my own agency, right? Hot Press Web. And I used to carry the fact that I didn't have a niche as a badge of honor. I used to say to people, oh, I don't have a niche. I work with everybody. And guess what? My business was a roller coaster. At one point in time, I only had $3 in my bank account. I had 14 employees. I owed 3 months in rent. I owed the IRS $135,000. When somebody said a roller coaster earlier, a hamster wheel, like I relate to that extremely well. That was my story. And I literally one day didn't have enough money to buy a cup of coffee. I normally buy a venti from Starbucks, $3.13. I had $3 in my bank account. I had to order a grande coffee. If you only have $3 in your bank account, I'm not saying you should spend it on Starbucks coffee. I did. Went into the conference room that day and I said, look, we need to make a change. This whole no niche thing, we got to get rid of that. We need to figure out what our proven system is to scale up our business and start working smarter, not harder. So we created the 3 stages to agency freedom. We started identifying markets, building traction, building ourselves as the go-to authority in that niche. And ultimately we found scale in those markets. We went from not being able to pay our rent, owing a ton of money, to becoming one of the fastest growing companies in Denver, Colorado, 2 years in a row, top Denver area designer developer, cover story on the Denver Business Journal. And ultimately we were able to sell our agency. After 13 years of hard work, those last 5 years were the ones that counted. We doubled our business every single year and finally created that freedom we wanted in our business and life. So the question I want to leave you guys with is, what would business look like if you owned your market? If you truly owned your market, what would business look like? Would you still feel like you were, stuck in the mud, not able to make the progress you want in your business? Or would you feel like finally you can have some wins, you can celebrate, you can take some time off, you can make it happen? Our belief is that happens through the agency freedom model of being able to attract leads, win deals, delight clients so you can scale your business. This is what you got to work on. We talked about this today. We focus a lot on the funnel leads part of this. But at the end of the day, guys, everybody here, you got to draw a line in the sand. You got to say, look, I'd like to get more out of my business. I'd like to start scaling in my market. I'd like to be the authority. And that's a decision. That's a conscious decision that you have to make in your business for yourself. And we want to help you guys do that here today. So Keith, thank you so much for letting me hang out with you guys today and talk about this. I'd love to be able to tell some people how to get a hold of us or kind of how to get in touch, but I want to open it up for any questions or that you have or that our audience has at this point.
I want to say thank you for joining us and for teaching this. I actually took 2 pages of notes from this because I think a lot of it is, when you look at this originally and you're like, oh, you need to get a niche. Everyone's like, of course I need to get a niche. But it's the specifics of, you were showing the content, the 9x9 content grid. You were showing what are the pain points. You were showing the ways that you went into this. That's the super value that I got out of this, even with the fact that I don't run an agency anymore, even on the SaaS side and some of the things that we're doing with Psychmetrics. This has been super valuable. I know for me, and I'm sure people in the audience as well. Just drilling into that specifics. One interesting thing that you said that I know that I have a huge problem with is that acquire leads with an appointment funnel and all roads lead to a conversation. And I see this a lot in my own marketing when I get on to people's podcasts and webinars. It's like, oh, just check out Psychmetrics. And that sucks. Right. But then I also see it with when I was back in the agency, I'd work with customers and I'd be like, okay, how do people get in touch with you? And even now, working with Psychmetrics customers, they're like, oh, they go to the contact form. I'm like, no one has ever filled out the contact form.
Well, I think they do, but you have to create so much interest to get somebody to click the contact us page, because you're actually telling the visitor that they have to think about why they should contact you, that what they would get, right? They have to make an assumption about
exactly
what kind of engagement they want with you.
Right. It's not a lead into, oh, we're going to help you do X, book this time now. It's very open-ended. It's like saying, just send me an email. It's like, we don't have a strong CTA there. And I always find those as failures. I do want to go into the chat. I know David mentions no questions, but your presentation was on point. Worksheets were super helpful. Thank you. Awesome. That's what I like to hear. Excellent. Well, it doesn't look like we have any specific questions. Brent, is there anything else you would like to give out? Oh, David says, actually, I do have a question. What are your thoughts on more frequent published content, but in less depth versus longer content that is more depth?
Yeah, so I think, David, great question on that around like content and how long is the right amount of content, et cetera. I think this comes down to a lot of like what's the channel and what's appropriate for that content. I'm a huge fan of long form content. So in terms of like a webinar, right? This is about an hour worth of time, right? We went into some depth here. We talked about a lot of problems that agency owners experience, showed some examples and frameworks, all that kind of stuff, right? Now, if you're talking about, TikTok, right, which you can get incredible reach on incredibly quickly, obviously you've got a hard baked in limit of how much content you can actually put out there. Doesn't mean that you create that content really fast. It just means you only have a limited window of time to catch people's attention and have them engage at a deeper level. Now, certain channels like SEO right now, right? SEO loves the mega post. They love, the 5,000, 8,000 word, manifesto on whatever topic that you're on. One of my clients just recently published the ultimate guide to LinkedIn marketing within his niche. I won't say his niche with you guys today, but it was a 9,000 word post, and he's now page one of Google for that term, number one for that term, but he's also now in the top 3 for his niche space marketing. Right. So literally, he's now within a year of focusing on his niche, he's getting really a ton of traffic. Like Chris that I showed you, his website in the financial advisor space, he's getting tons of leads now for financial advisor lead generation because he went out there and he posted some really juicy stuff in his market. Right. So yeah, the context is around blogging. So if you're trying to get search traffic, definitely you might want to lean towards the beefier posts. If you're publishing on somebody else's platform, though, they're probably, which is what I advocate for people for when they first jump into a niche. If you're publishing on somebody else's platform, they are probably going to set the expectation around length. So some blogs know that, hey, 1,500 words is really what their audience wants. I blogged for a few sites like Tuts Plus and some others that required at least 3,000 words. I've blogged for some others like Agency Management Institute that they said, do not go a word beyond 1,000 words. So one thing that you should do when you're talking to people in your market, when you're publishing on other people's sites, is just ask them what's ideal for their audience in particular, what gets them the best results. They probably have an opinion on that, and then you should write to that goal. If you go to my websites, we have articles that are 500 words long. We have articles that are 6,000 words long. It just kind of depends on what the goal of the article is. If it's SEO, it's going to be longer. If it's just engagement and shares, we're probably going to go a little bit shorter with that content.
I think one thing to add on top of that, because we've done a lot of this as well, is that when you are starting out and you're not quite sure what that SEO looks like or what that keyword looks like or what that niche looks like, start smaller. Only because that's going to let you know that engagement. It's like, okay, these are people who are interested. We have I think it's 1,000, maybe 800 word article on Facebook link tracking that is probably our most clicked on page. And I just wrote it because I was really pissed off at Facebook link tracking. And it has become so popular that we now have a big series on that. We have a 5,000 word SEO doc that are gaining traction and bringing in leads that we want to see, specifically because we were able to find this out through a shorter piece of article. If we had spent a month or two writing this 9,000 word manifesto on cat pictures or something that no one was interested in, then it would have been wasted time. But since we started a little bit small, saw, okay, this thing has legs, and then built that SEO content after that, we were able to turn that into a strategy.
Nice. One of the things actually, and I love that you kind of bring up some specific stuff on the search side. So within a market, let's take your discipline, David, and then plus your market. One of the really quick wins we have with our clients that we tell them to do almost immediately, if they are going to put content on their own website and get search traffic, is what I call a common questions post. So common questions, food bloggers have about generating more traffic, right? And then actually just ask a bunch of questions and then answer those with authority content, because Google loves questions. They love, because a lot of times people go to Google and they ask questions to Google. And so if they actually register that your post answers a ton of questions for a niche around a topic, and that post, I mean, those typically we see those at 3,000 plus words. Those posts are some of the fastest that we've ever had in niches to get top rankings. Some of the top posts on our website are all common questions posts, like common questions that digital agency owners have about attracting leads through content marketing or whatever, right? So we just look at those keywords, we look at who our audience is, build a common questions post as a super easy, low hanging fruit for getting really targeted niche traffic around a keyword.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Brent, thanks so much for taking the time. I think this has been super valuable. I'm going to check on the webinar settings. I am 99% sure we can send out a replay to everyone. But just in case we don't, I will apologize ahead of time. All right, Brent, thank you so much. And is there anything you want to leave everyone with?
If you guys are interested, speaking of calls to action, I'll just put this on the screen for like 2 seconds here. You guys are awesome. I love the Segmetrics audience. I love supporting everybody that Keith is helping. So I run these agency scale sessions. It's an hour. We can hang out. We can talk about what's going on in your business, whether you need to protect or pivot the business right now with all this stuff going with C19, or if it's just about scaling your agency, growing your agency. These are super useful. We've done over 4,000 of these agency scale sessions in the last 5 years, and we can give an hour of time to your business because one of our core values is to help first. So if you guys are interested in one of these agency scale sessions, just shoot me an email, brent@ugurus.com. Let me know that you're interested. Tell me that you saw me on the Segmetrics session, and happy to set you up with one of these sessions. You can go to our website, ugurus.com, find the application button, but I won't know that you came from Segmetrics, and I want to make sure that we take care of Keith's people as best as possible. So just reach out to me. Let me know that you're coming from Keith's space, and we'll do these absolutely free, no charge on these. So if you guys are interested in that, just shoot me that email, brent@ugurus.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much. All right, everyone. Well, have a great rest of your day, and hope you got some value. Bye, guys.
See you guys.